What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take NFL DFS Wise Stream. It is CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. Joined once again by the two OGs. First up, Cash Game OG Pimp Style, aka 6-0, aka Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. Joey Joe, long time no talk. What's happening?
Not much, man. It's week 7. Party time. Excellent. The wife's out of town. Fuck yeah. Woohoo!
Loving it. And for those who don't know, do you want to let them guess, or do you just want to? Do we just tell them where you are?
I mean, if they don't get I gave them the hint right there. I mean, if they don't know the background after that.
True that.
They should be able to get it.
If you don't know now, you know type shit. And we are joined by the Go to True OG Paulie D, who you can find on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. And you may be catching him in the back, catching a few Z's. Hey, Paulie, what's happening?
What up, man?
No, man. Same old stuff. Late night, weekend, talking some football, man. And you know, it ended up being a pretty hectic day, I'd say, in the NFL, right? Some of this, a lot of the stuff relative to the slate, some of the stuff not so much to this slate, such as Antonio Brown signing with the Bucks, right? Nothing really for this slate, but still pretty cray, I'd say. And then of course we had some of the bombs drop today. Joe Mixon is out. We heard Aaron Jones has a mild calf strain. We heard Michael Thomas is out. We heard Emmanuel Sanders on the COVID list. There are a couple games we need to monitor for COVID purposes. I believe, what is it? Shit, I can't think of the other team. The Saints obviously is one. They've all tested positive so far, but we still need to keep an eye out and make sure that continue that trend, because a day before he tested positive, Emmanuel Sanders was practicing. The other game is which one, Joe? Why am I blanking on this?
Isn't it the Bucks and the Raiders?
Yes. The Bucks and the Raiders, which wasn't even supposed to be on the slate, right? That's another thing we could do. Another thing that happened, right? We now have this game on the slate for DraftKings on FanDuel. Is it on the slate? No,
it's not. They didn't add it, but they did keep the Seattle-Arizona game, which, to be honest with you, if you think about that game, the Raiders-Bucks game, there's really, on a cash setting, there's probably only one play that you would really look at, and that's Rojo. So I can deal with not having him and whatever going somewhere else. But I'm glad that they kept the Seattle-Arizona game.
Yeah, well, on DraftKings, they did we didn't lose the game. They kept that game, but they also added another game. So now we have an extra game on the slate. I wasn't too happy with that. I was on Twitter talking to some people, and there's a lot of people who like having the Sunday Night Football game as a part of the slate. Because it's old school, and even you guys were saying it's kind of old school. I personally don't like it. Right? I'm an instant gratification kind of person. I'm not really into the whole let me just wait all day type. I'm someone who, when we make a change and it's working, I'm like, let's continue to make changes for progression. Let's not take a step backwards. That's my thing. But I'm curious to hear your guys' take. Joe, you first. Do you like having the Sunday night thing on the slate, or you like waiting all day?
I mean, I think it's for this week. It's like slate dependent. They gave us a really juicy game, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to have at least one or two players of that game in every one of my lineups, I think. So it's going to be worth it. But I could see where, I mean, especially if FanDuel, takes their sweet time like they have been the last 2-3 weeks paying out.
I was just going to say, well, actually, Joe, you play on FanDuel. You're probably used to waiting all day.
Yeah, it don't really matter. It's like I just go to sleep, I wake up, and I hope like someday on Monday they will credit my account, because I'm a player. I normally only play like the main slate on Sunday. I might play like a showdown here and there, maybe, but that's why I don't like depend on the credit coming into my account for me to play another slate. But I can understand, like, if you're waiting for that money and you want to play the next slate, it's frustrating because FanDuel their scoring system is just all left up right now.
It's a wild world. Paulie, what about you, man? What are your thoughts on
it? I'm fine with it. It's something different. It's cool to have like that game matter, but I remember really being happy when they cut that game out and made the slates end after the 4 o'clocks. So nice, because it's a really good game, and I think it's gonna affect the ownership the way that it's the timing of it. But I after that, I'd be happy if it didn't happen again for a few years.
This is like a reunion type situation. Like you're happy to see everybody the one time, but just the one
Right, but
time,
then that's
you know. Yeah, I feel you. I'm with it. Shout out to the nation. Shout out to D Millie. Have you guys seen the videos that D Millie keeps posting in the Slack, like the little Snapchat videos and all that shit, man? I fucking love it. Dude is hilarious, man. I love it, man. He gets me motivated for some reason. I don't know what it is about it, but he showed with the screen and he gets all the drinks and all this, and I'm not even a big drinker, but I don't know, something about it just gets me pumped to build fantasy football teams, man. Shout out to D Millie. Shout out to Fritz. Shout out to our boy MD Smith. A lot of the guys have been doing what they can do to make the Slack chat bump again, like it was before, and I like it, man. I think we've done our part in trying to get in there a little bit more and be more involved, and it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing when you get in there, and it really hones in on what this is meant to be, and that is a community, a daily fantasy sports community, where everybody's looking to just take shit down. I mean, right? That's it. Everybody's looking to take.
Football is just so great.
Yeah.
It's like the only sport that you're 6 days away from the slate on Monday and you're already breaking it down. Like, you don't do that for any other sport.
No, there's something about it. Like, I get impatient, and so, like, if you have a bad week, it sucks. You got to wait all week to make up for it. But if you take that shit out of it, man, it's kind of nice to be able to take your time on the slate and have a process that takes you throughout the week. Have some conversations with a few different people and get their opinions on things. In basketball and baseball, it's like you got snap decisions. Like I don't got time to talk to you. I'm still waiting on news. I can't even talk to you till I find out the news. It's like you know what I mean? Like a different feel. So I agree. I think it's right now it's a unique time. Usually we have baseball or basketball or something that we're balancing in between football. It's a unique time for us at the White State Nation where we have time to actually just fully focus on football, and I'm enjoying it. I really am. With that said, NBA, supposedly we could be looking at a December 22nd startup. Just saying. So I have to keep my eye on that. Joey literally disappeared. I think he just bent down. But the Skype thing, when you bend down, Joe, like you disappear on the screen or whatever, and so for a minute there, it just looked like you vanished. That was pretty sick. Okay, I think it's about time we jump in. He's gone. He's like Houdini. I think it's about time we jump into the slate. If you haven't hit the like button already, guys, please do. Please hit that like button. We're going to pull up the chat on the screen in just a second here as we go position by position, talking about how we plan on doing the dirties to ensure the dirties will be done. And we're going to start off with some quarterback action. Joey, I'm going to kick it to you first, man. We'll break it into tiers as we always do. Who are the quarterbacks looking to spend up for?
Yeah, in cash, I think it's two guys that you're going to be looking at. It's going to be either Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson. Mahomes and Josh Allen. Mahomes, it's in bad weather, and he hasn't done very well in Denver in his career. So 9,000, I'm not with it. Josh Allen, I just don't know if he's going to be able to keep up with the the scoring and ugly divisional game. Second time they've already played in like 7 weeks. I don't care how bad the Jets are. I just think it's going to be more of a slot fest and stuff. And Bills aren't playing that well right now. But Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray are the two plays that are standing out up top. Deshaun Watson also, I wouldn't mind in cash. Also, he's 8K. You could see a situation where once again he's in a shootout like he was last week against the Titans with Rodgers going up and down the field. Could totally see that. But Murray is the guy that I'm going to highlight. He's I try not to, in my article, put a quarterback in as my core. I like to maybe just put like the framework, some good value plays, a receiver, a running back, a tight end, maybe 2 running backs or whatever, and then let somebody else, you guys make the quarterback that you want. But this week, I feel so compelled. Just Murray, I was speaking of it pre-show that it's just his price. He's not one of the highest priced guys. He's like 4th or 5th priced on each site. Provides a great rushing floor. He has 6 rushing touchdowns this year, 10 passing touchdowns. I mean, he only completed 9 passes last week, and he still won 3x. So even if you are thinking that the Cardinals are going to get blown out this week against the Seahawks, which CK does, and I've been hearing some people that it's just not going to be close, and that's fine. And that means we're going to have garbage time. He's going to be running around, throwing passes, D-Hop, Kirk. I mean, and even if D-Hop is out, which I don't think he's going to be out, I think he's going to play. It's a big game. It's a divisional game. I just think this game is just too big. And Murray at his price, like he's been 3x all year. He's averaged over 25 FanDuel points That's exactly what you need at his price, and is what you're gonna need, I think, to cash in this slate on cash games.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Paulie D. What are your thoughts?
So I do agree that in cash, if I was playing, I would go to Kyler Murray. He, leads all quarterbacks in rushing. I think game script is going to, favor him, kind of having an upside game. But that's for cash. Overall, I'm not really a big fan of the spend ups this week. If I'm mostly DraftKings discussing here. Like, I just think that the guys on the high end are way too expensive. There are studs at the skill positions that you're gonna want, and like to get more of those guys into your lineup, spending the money on QB really makes that hard. So, I'm not into Russ Allen at all. Mahomes, if we didn't have the bad weather and the snow coming there, and DB, I could be a little bit interested with how bad Denver's been defensively. But that kind of exits him out for me. Kyler, I would use in cash. I'll have some, but Rodgers is probably my favorite spend up. Like 7K and above. He's probably the only guy that I'll have any exposure to.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he really needs
yeah, I mean, I think it's exactly what you would expect, right? In cash games, like Joe said, I think Kyler Murray is a pretty prominent player. I mean, you don't even need to stack him with anyone. His floor has been so high. He's running. He's been the entire offense. And in tournaments, to be honest, I'm not that interested in any of the guys up top. Joe had mentioned that I'd said in the Slack chat that I think the Seattle game is going to be a blowout. I'm not convinced Arizona is any good. And the most expensive quarterback I like is Aaron Rodgers, man. I bit the bullet last week. I went heavy on Rodgers. It was a disaster. He was awful. But I am more so willing to bet not only just a good matchup in general against a bad defense. I know they're worse against the run, but they're still a bad defense overall. But I'm willing to bet that Aaron Rodgers does not have a second bad game in a row. With that said, let's talk about some mid-tier action, Joey Joe.
Yeah, the mid-tier action for cash, I only think that like the popular play is probably going to be Matt Stafford at 7,300 going up against the Falcons. We all know what quarterbacks can do against the Falcons. Even Kirk Cousins last week in a bad week wound up salvaging it and putting up like 24, 25 FanDuel points. Really, really, like if you're going to pay down, I think in cash, I think that's the way to go. The GPP option, though, I like is Justin Herbert. He's at home. He's a big favorite. They're going to be throwing. I think that Jacksonville's going to put up enough points, make it interesting. I would pick Jacksonville and the points. They're like 8-point. The Chargers are 8-point favorites. Shouldn't be like that at all. I mean, all the other quarterbacks in that range, I can really see if you want in a GPP setting. Matt Ryan is better in the GPP. Most people are going to go to Stafford. I like Ryan. He had a good game last week. He's fine in a stack. Ben is all right also. Not really on Tannehill and stuff, but that's pretty much in the mid-tier.
Mid-tier city. Paulie.
So, Deshaun Watson's looked much better the last 2 weeks, pretty much since they fired their coach. Although I don't love, attacking Green Bay through the air, I think Deshaun can do enough on the ground and in the short pass game, to get there in a high-scoring affair. Don't mind him, but again, I'm really just not into the spend-ups. I do like both Matt Ryan and Stafford. I do prefer Ryan. I just think that, they're throwing, top 3 most in the NFL, where Detroit, I'm starting to think, is becoming like a run-first team, similar to almost like Houston, where like, they have the talent in the pass game, but that's not what they prefer to do. But it kind of all depends on game flow. If Atlanta jumps out to a lead again, like last week against Minnesota, then Stafford probably does ball out. If it's vice versa this time, then Ryan will be a good play again. But I just, in that game, I favor Ryan, even, at home on turf. That's just where he does his thing. But the lower end here is where I start to get interested in guys. Cam Newton at 63, although, we don't really think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. I'm not convinced San Francisco's defense is anywhere back to what they were last year with all the injuries. Cam Newton's going to be looking for a bounce back game after losing at home to Denver. And, we've seen teams, we saw the, who the hell blew out San Fran? We saw the Rams move the ball on them, and we saw the Dolphins go nuts. So, I'm sure Cam Newton is good as well at low ownership, good price tag. And then I'll talk some more when we get the value.
For me, it's Stafford. I'm not. Again, I'm keeping it simple this week. I know that I agree that I think in an ideal world for the Lions they would run the ball. I think that would be an ideal situation. They were able to do that against Jacksonville. I don't think they were able to do it against Atlanta. Atlanta's been very good against the run. Not necessarily good against running backs, but Detroit hasn't been so quick to throw to their running backs so much either. So I think they're going to force Detroit to throw. I do think Detroit's defense is bad, and Atlanta's going to be able to score. And in order to keep pace with Atlanta, they're going to have to throw the ball. So I do like Stafford. I do prefer Stafford. I think it's more likely that Atlanta is able to run the ball on Detroit than Detroit is able to run the ball in Atlanta. And I don't think that I do think Detroit's going to try to run in the beginning, and if they can, I don't think they're going to stick with it. I think they're not going to be able to because I think Atlanta's going to be able to move the ball and score, and they're going to have no choice but to throw. So I like Stafford. He's the mid-tier guy that stands out. Again, like just keeping it simple. I mean, the Herberts and the Newtons, and I think Ben Roethlisberger you could even make a case for. There's a lot of players you can do MME style, but in my main teams, keep it as simple with it. I know Paulie's got a lot of interest in the value tier, and I'm definitely curious to hear some of the plays there. But I'm gonna kick it to Joey first to cover FanDuel. Are there any pay down quarterbacks that you like this week?
Yeah, I would just say Teddy Bridgewater is the only pay down option that I really like. I can see the argument if you're going to fade Gio to throw Burrow in there. I don't mind that. I think Gio is completely favorable in GBPs. We'll get to that. But I think Burrow is fine. But Bridgewater is 6,800. And he's going up against the Saints defense that I think is like more on reputation than really good right now. Lattimore is terrible. So I don't mind Bridgewater at 6,800. And Paulie brought up he's given a little bit of rushing there. And if he can give you 40 yards rushing, that's an extra touchdown pass. That's an extra, that's a decent floor. He should be priced higher than 6,800, I think, on FanDuel. But that's about it on the pay down option. I mean, I guess if you wanted to sell me on Kyle Allen against Dallas because Dallas is so bad and you were doing a lot of teams, I could buy that. But I'm only do a few teams, so I will definitely not be playing Kyle Allen.
Word up, though. Paulie D, DraftKings, pay downs?
So I'm on the Bridgewater train. I think this game could, shoot out. I think both these offenses are competent and they both are depleted on defense. Carolina likes to, move the ball quick. They do a bunch of no huddle. They throw the ball a lot, so the clock could really not move a ton. The Saints are a little bit different. They have like no receivers right now, but they've always been like a mediocrely fast-paced team and a team that can score the ball. Both teams have been really good on offense, and Bridgewater at that price of 58 allows you to load up on the studs throughout the rest of the lineup. We talked about the rushing. He's had 3 games over 26 rushing. He's had a touchdown, and he's throwing the ball. And I like his talent every receiver. So I do like that. I love Joe Burrow. He's had 4 games out of 6 throwing over 300 yards, getting that bonus. Cleveland is bottom 5 against the pass, against receivers, DVP. I think they start to form good relationships with all of his receivers. In fact, I don't think they're going to they could be losing because they're winning. I think because Burrow's doing well. And I just expect this to kind of be high scoring, and the stack really works because all of his receivers are cheap. His running back is cheap, and you can run it back with whoever you want from Cleveland. In the same game, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm going to play some Baker Mayfield. He's had like 6 games in his career since he's gone for over 23, and he's played 5 times. He's gone over 23 drafting points in the 5. They played this year. It's a 35-30 game. Chubb took that one over, there. And, there's a chance they fall behind. There's a chance that they play from ahead and they just kind of keep throwing it. I think at his price in this matchup, with the injuries at running back, there's the opportunity for him to have a decent game, especially if they're forced to throw a ton. And at 5'6", 5x is 28 points. 5x for Wilson's a 40 burden on that, like twice in his career. And again, what it does, I'm really on board with. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, 300. This guy had 3 games last year over 30 DraftKings points. That would be 6x. They've got injuries to the running backs. They're getting healthy at receiver. I'm not convinced that New England is any good defensively. And, against his former team, blah, 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 all that narrative. I think with his receiving core getting healthy, and the running backs kind of getting injured, they're going to kind of shift to a more pass-happy offense. And I think that he could be efficient and with a little revenge on his mind, post a big game. And at 5-3 on DraftKings, like 4x is 21.5 points. Very, very, very doable. Like the point per dollar opportunity is really, really strong.
Word up. Joe, when Paulie talks, do you hear an echo?
No, not really. I mean, it sometimes fades out, but
if you don't hear an echo, then you might need to. You hear the echo? I was gonna say, if you don't hear an echo, we might need you to lower your speakers, Joe. I think the speakers coming in through your mic. That's why that's why we usually are advocates for headphones. But some of us have been doing this for how many years and still don't do them? I don't know. Just saying. No, real quick, Joe. While we're on the subject. One of the funniest comments we had on the First Look show, I was 6-0 Patio Joe with all that money still can't afford to buy a mic, which was funny because you actually do have a good mic. So I thought that was ironic. It's just you choose not to use it from time to time. But yeah, I thought that was funny.
I do. I don't see what's wrong with mine. On the
hold up. I think Paulie's mic is rubbing on something. Okay, he's back. We're back.
How's that? A little bit better. I turned down my speakers down to 6 or 7.
Yeah, better? I think so. But oh man, that's rough.
Yeah.
Is he back, Paulie?
Is he there?
A minute. Okay. Yeah. I think it was just Joe needing to lower his speaker. All right. But I think we're good. Paulie, talk. No, I don't hear you now at all.
I don't hear him at all. I didn't do anything.
And he's gone, just like that. And he's back, just like that. While Paulie's adjusting, I'll go ahead and say that I like the it sounds like it's working well now. I like the Joe Burrow take a lot, man. If I'm paying down, I'm going to Joe Burrow for a couple reasons. One, I agree Cleveland's defense has been bad. 2, it's also because of the Gio Bernard chalk. I think you can definitely play Gio Bernard with Burrow because of Bernard's tendency to catch passes. But I also think there's a world where Gio doesn't perform well, yet the Bengals still score points. And if that's going to happen, it's going to be through thorough Joe Burrow. So I will make some room for that. Also, like some of the builds you can get by paying down a quarterback. So I do like that one a lot. Have to agree with y'all. Pimps. With that said, we're going to running back. Joey, talk to me about Kamara and the rest of the spend-up options, if any.
It's Alvin Kamara, and it's Alvin Kamara, and it's Alvin Kamara. That is it. If we can look up above 8K, we'll just go on and list C-Max hurt. First of all, I went on this and rant with, I don't know why he's even 10K there. Even if he was healthy, play C-Mac at 10K, you crazy. Zeke at 9,500 in just a bad, dirty game. I just don't like it. There's no way, there's something wrong with that team. That line is terrible. Like, you just don't want to do it. The line is terrible. They just lost another lineman. Chris Martin's out. They lost Tyron Smith for the year. Just don't do it. Henry is in a difficult matchup, which I wouldn't shy away. He's a great back. Taylor Lewan, tearing his ACL, is the reason why Derrick Henry gets a big fat X with me this week. Okay, he's facing Steelers too. So you put matchup with a depleted, one of the best left tackles in the game. You take that away from him, and I don't like it. I'm done. So you put Kamara with no Michael Thomas, no Emmanuel Sanders. It's, to me, it's just like lock him in your cash games. And if you're paying up at running back, I just really don't see anybody else. I mean, obviously Henry is a great player and he could break one and he could fall in the end zone twice and kind of keep up with Kamara. But if Kamara has a game that they think that they're going to need to win this game, I think that it's got to be him at 9,300, and that's it. And Zeke, I haven't played Zeke all year, and I don't think you need to play Zeke.
Oh, that's your boy.
And Aaron Jones first. So Aaron Jones is questionable. That's another guy. I forget. Everybody was into Aaron Jones this year. He's questionable with a calf. Even if he plays, the chances of re-injuring your calf muscle in game is very high. And I was listening on the radio today. Dr. David Chow, who comes on, does all the injury things online, fantasy sports radio and stuff. And he's like, usually calf muscles, if they pop up this late in the week, they aren't going to get better. They're going to get worse. And if you re-injure it now, it's 4 to 6 weeks instead of just taking 1 to 2 off. They've already had their bye. I think that they can win this game without him too. So I wouldn't play Jones at all.
All right, then shit. All right, then bad. Paulie?
Yeah, DraftKings is just a whole different world in terms of the pricing. Like Kamara's most expensive, but $7,900. That's wildly cheap for a stud running back on DraftKings. You know, talk about the days of 10K Le'Veon Bell, DJ, C-Mac. We saw one other game this year when they were not as depleted, but close. They were missing a tight end. They were missing Thomas, and the volume was just too good to pass up at this kind of price tag. He was actually $7,900 in that same game against Green Bay. And this is like a very, very similar spot. Carolina's terrible against the run, mediocre against the pass. He's just, on volume alone, is going to get you there safely. He did bust as chalk the week after, I think, against the Lions. And like, that's always possible, you know, so I don't think you lock him in, but this feels like a better situation. And like Joey mentioned, all the pivots are just, they don't compare, you know, like a very good point about Derrick Henry losing Taylor Lewan. Before you mentioned that, he was probably my second favorite spend up, but you know, like you said, tough matchup and losing their best O lineman, and they're probably going to be trailing. That's tough. Zeke, I think, can go one of two ways. Either like he plays motivated, wanting to redeem himself, and goes absolutely nuts against a bad defense, or it gets worse with the beat up O line. The team kind of, you know, falls apart, and you know, things get ugly in Dallas. And with the O line being hurt and Washington's ability to rush the passer, like I do think the turnovers and the pointing fingers and all the negativity is probably more likely than the good game. But I'll have some Zeke. But again, with the battered O-line, I can't do it, especially over Kamara. I'm with you with Aaron Jones. The injury, I said to CK before the show, like, the only way I see him being worth it is if the game is super tight and they play him more than they want. But if one team gets ahead, there's no reason to push him. Like, Green Bay's going to be a playoff team. They need to get their healthy. So, you know, that leaves Kareem Hunt, who I like a ton in that game. He's involved enough in the pass game. He's going to get the carries. I don't think Cincinnati's very good. Really like Kareem Hunt at 6'8". James Conner will have a sprinkle of. And then you got Mike Davis at 6'6". I'll cut it here. He's a little too popular for my liking. I'll have some of him. But I honestly like the pass game a little bit more. Like, he's very similar to the Cincinnati situation. Like, I'll have Bridgewater stacked with Davis and a receiver, Davis and two receivers, all different ways. But I just, you know, I prefer the Cincinnati stack because it's significantly cheaper. But it's a nice way to kind of get different. People don't like playing two running backs in the same game. If you're already playing Kamara, pairing it with Mike Davis, interesting. I got him all right with him, but I'll be under the field. I'm shocked at how high he's projecting ownership-wise. It's Hunt and Kamara up top with a little bit of Zeke in case.
Yeah, I mean, the Kamara thing I'm on board with. No Michael Thomas, no Emmanuel Sanders, assuming this game even plays, which it looks, I think it should. I just don't see a reason. Against Carolina, who's been terrible against the run, I just don't see a reason not to play Kamara. I see a bunch of people in the chat talking about the Latavius Murray, and I think that's a very real thing. We'll talk about him when we get around his price range. But regardless, I'm gonna have I'm gonna be overweight to the field on Kamara. At least I'm gonna try. What do you guys think? I saw somebody else ask. I think it was I think I lost the question. So somebody asked where the ownership was gonna be. I think it was Jeff Jones in the YouTube chat. What do you guys think the ownership on Kamara is gonna be? Joe on FanDuel, Paulie on DraftKings.
I mean, cash, he's going to be at least 60% owned. But I think in GBPs, he's going to be like 25 or 30.
What do you think on DraftKings, Paulie?
That's what I think.
Cash games 80, 90%. GPPs probably around 50.
Yeah, that's what especially with Aaron Jones' uncertainty. And if Aaron Jones does, in fact, get ruled out before the game, you can expect that number to go up because people are going to have they'll just find a way to get up there. Speaking of Aaron Jones, I really would have liked him. I think that this injury news, we're obviously going to have to tweak his projection. He was actually one of the highest raw point projections for us because of how bad Houston's been. But and not just that, but Houston's also 8th in pace so far this year. But with the injury, obviously Kamara's on an island all by himself up there. Ezekiel Elliott to me is just a game theory play, similar to Rodgers in that, are you willing to bet that Zeke won't have another bad game? But like Paulie said, I'm a little more reluctant on Zeke because I'm a little more concerned about the functionality of this offense. You had players coming out talking about the coaches were unprepared, the coaches are not good, whatever the case may be. So I have some concerns. I do. I genuinely have some concerns. So Zeke to me is just a game theory thing. I'll work him in, but if I'm up there, I'm going Kamara. Joe, I'm kicking it back to you. Take me down to this mid-range.
Yeah, you see this mid-range. This is where the two sites kind of differ. And to me, the mid-range is pretty simple. It's Kareem Hunt. He's 7,100. Like on FanDuel, that's a $2,200 difference between Hunt and Kamara. On DK, they're like $1,100 apart. So, like, I could see where, like, Kamara is just going to get, like, way more, ownership because, like, they're so close in price. But on FanDuel, Jesus, they're so far apart. Hunt is probably, right now, he's in my cash game lineup right now also, too. Like, it sets up for a great matchup. Cincinnati can be run on. We all know that. Passing game, he seems to be healthy. He's really the only guy getting carries. It's a bounce back spot. I like it. I think just the natural pivot and the guy that I think will go a little bit just not really overlooked on FanDuel is going to be James Conner. He's in a good matchup against the Titans. You can run on them. So I'm not like afraid of them, and I don't think anybody will go to them. And then Todd Gurley down at 6,600. He's facing Detroit. We all know Detroit can't really stop much. And in that game, I think he's more of a GBP option because people, if you want to like kind of get off the chalk in that game but still have a piece of it, we all know that Gurley could fall in the end zone twice and he's going to catch a few balls, get some targets, and make value real easily at 6,600. Just 2 weeks ago, he had 23 points. So I don't mind that. And then nobody really else. Above 6K, I just don't know who to pick between Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson. If Justin Jackson is ruled out because he's questionable right now, which I'm not 100% sure if he's going to play. I think he is, but I still think Kelly's going to get more of the run this week. So I don't mind that. And then DeAndre Swift, you guys brought it up on the a little earlier how Atlanta stops the run pretty well. and which they do, but they give up passes out of the backfield. So he's more of a DK play, Swift is, but I do not mind it if you're stacking that game, throwing Swift in that lineup.
Oh, that's your boy, Paulie. It's here.
Yeah, none of these guys are like super sexy, but I do like this mid tier. It'd be my first time playing James Robinson this year, but I do have interest in him against the Chargers. Joey already mentioned he expects that to be like a close, kind of back and forth game. I think the Chargers, the one thing they do very well outside of guarding, wideouts, is rush the passer. So I expect some checkdowns. James Robinson, 6'2", at like very low ownership. Hopefully, he just does what he does and falls into the end zone, which hasn't done since like week 3, and posts one of those 25 plus kind of games at super low ownership. Ronald Jones has just been super impressive, is in a really good spot against the Raiders. Will be missing their like stud run stopping safety, Abrams. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Denver's good against the run. We're expecting conditions, cold weather. I wouldn't be surprised if they leaned on him after getting up a couple points, or if he was more involved with the pass game. Everyone's kind of running away from him with Le'Veon Bell being there, but I don't think Reed always goes with the dominant and the one back. He's kind of bringing in Bell to be like last year. Like the Todd Gurley call, he's in a good spot against a bad defense, getting anywhere from 14 to 21 carries and anywhere from like 3 to 6 targets at a decent price tag. The end zone, very low owned. Melvin Gordon, Snow. I don't know if they're going to pass much, run against the Chiefs. Maybe he's a little motivated after looking like a douche. Why? Other nonsense. Maybe he's trying to trade it, but it's a decent spot at the price, and it's below ownership. And then we'll see what comes out with the Chargers running backs. Got interest, both of them as well, and not spot against.
We got that echo back, Paulie. I don't think it's you. I think it's coming from the speakers. Unless Joe, do you hear it now? The echo? If you don't hear it,
it's not.
It's coming through your speakers, Joe. It's coming through your speakers. If I hear an echo and Paulie doesn't hear an echo, Paulie, you hear an echo when I talk?
I hear it. No,
when you talk, you hear the echo. I don't know. But if Joe doesn't hear it, that usually means that it's coming out of the speaker and into the microphone. I don't know.
My mic is down.
Your mic is down. No, the volume. Oh, okay.
Down.
Okay.
My speakers are down.
Joey, mute it when I talk.
Mute?
Yeah, mute it. Put the mouse on the thing.
Mute myself.
Yes. Mute yourself.
All right. So what else are we talking about now?
Yeah. We're definitely gonna move on. After I say Kareem Hunt is also a play that I like. A lot of these guys, I'll say this too, man. I'm actually more into Todd Gurley than I am into Swift in that scenario. Like I said, I think Atlanta will be able to run the ball. Like most of the running backs are kind of gonna be like one-offs, but I do like the idea of correlating the running back in some situations with some of these lone guys. And one more guy I'll mention that I like a lot in tournaments is Chris Carson. I talked about that game. I do think that Seattle is a significantly better team. I'm just not convinced that Arizona is any good because they beat up on the Jets and they played a bad Cowboys team, a team that's been struggling anyway. And so I think Chris Carson is a way to get exposure to that game and also some leverage. If that game does not shoot out the way people are hoping or thinking or whatever, there's a good chance it's because one of the running backs, whether it be on the other side or Carson, was successful doing dirts. With that said, Value Town, Patio Joe.
Well, there it is. It's the dirty chalk play of the week, the anal Claypool play of the week. Lock in at 4,800, Mr. Gio Bernard. That's right. Starting running back this week for your Cincinnati Bengals. Only at 4.8K on FanDuel. He is supposed to be getting the volume because Joe Mixon's foot all of a sudden is bad and he cannot play. So please lock into all your cash game lineups, Mr. Gio Bernard.
Love it. Love it.
So more like value plays. If Aaron Jones is out, that makes both Jamal Williams and AJ Dillon viable, not cash playable because they could kind of neuter each other. Another guy that I like as a absolute pivot off of Gio in tournaments. I don't know if anybody's been watching the Buffalo Bills the last few weeks, but literally you could run a truck through those holes like anything. They are terrible. You saw what CH did. At the same price, you could get LeMichael Perrine. I mean, it just sounds so nice in like French, LeMichael Perrine. At 4,800 on FanDuel, you could run all over the Bills. Nobody's going to have him. Everybody's going to go to Gio. And then you have LeMichael Perrine, the Frenchman, running all over the Bills for 2 touchdowns and shocking the world. But yeah, that's what I like. And the Value Town. I also, Latavius Murray at 5,300 is also a good value in a GBP setting. They're going to need all of their other players to step up this week because they're missing their 2 top receivers. So that means that I think Murray's going to get the ball more. We'll talk about in tight ends, Jared Cook's going to get the ball more. And then there's obviously some other receivers are going to stand up. But I just think it's going to be, Murray in GBP settings for sure.
Is Perrine really French?
No, I don't think
okay, so. Just checking. Because the way it rolled off your tongue, it sounded like it was designed that way. I was like, oh shit. We got a Frank Nitty on our hands? JK. Paulie, are you in on the Geo chalk?
Yeah, I think you just got to play that at 4,500. I think the Browns defense is not very good. I expect this game to be high scoring. He's 4,500. The volume is just way too high. If he scores a touchdown, he's pretty much there. He can get there, on a site like DraftKings through the air with multiple targets if they fall behind. Joe Mixon had like the 3rd or 4th highest overall workload of any running back. It's just both these teams are playing pretty fast. Everything just lines up well. Like at 4,500, he helps a lot. I plan to use Gio quite a bit. There's a couple pivots, but he just feels like the best play currently. We'll see if anything else opens up. Like if Aaron Jones were to get ruled out, then there'd be like a debate. But right now, I would play him in 100% of cash game lineups, and I'm going to have at least 50% of him, I think, in tournaments because of what he allows, what his ownership's going to be, and if you don't have him, you could really get hurt here. And I don't see how he doesn't get 15, just on 60 yards rushing and 5 catches for 60 yards. That's 17 points. You know what I mean? So 3x is almost automatic unless he gets hurt or something. And 6, 7, 8x is possible at high ownership. It's hard to fade.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think just get out of the way. I mean, yeah, he does so much for you. I was telling you, Paulie, I was like, even in the beginning of the week when we knew it was a possibility doing a first look show with Joe, I was saying, just I'm going to look for a reason to fade it. But when it actually comes and you actually do the research and dig in and look at the usage Mixon was getting, and even if he gets like 75% of that usage, at his price, it's just too juiced. Too juiced. What other, real quick, by the way, Joe, the chat seemed to have gotten a kick or a rise, if you will, out of the P. Ryan call. We got Steve Samsell, #NeverJets. We got our boy Ozzy with the real pivot off Gio is LaMichael's cousin Samaji P. Ryan. So we got some action going down there, for sure.
I think he's Gio's backup, Samaji.
He is. He is. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's not. Bills have been run on the last few weeks. That's all I'm saying. Like their D line, you can run on them. So, I'm just saying.
Talk about. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. No, you're right.
So Michael, yeah.
I keep forgetting that.
But with Gio, by the way, guys. By the way, everybody, I know you guys do because you're loyal, but I had Gio in my cash lineup on Tuesday in the show. I knew that Gio was going to start. I knew Mixon was not going to play this week. I knew it. I just knew right away. I knew it. Boom, he was out this week.
You must have sucked some
So
heavy
that
stuff
means
to
watch
get that
the show on
info.
Tuesdays.
Had the knee pads out. Had to get the goods.
V-Town that I'm into down here, I think both zona running backs are interesting. We saw Drake kind of get back on track. Seattle's mediocre at best defensively against the run or against anything. Or Chase Edmonds, the more pass game kind of guy. If they do fall behind, we've seen him sealing out. James White's a candidate if New England falls behind. We saw, last week they fell behind at Denver, and it wasn't like they were that far behind. He got another 9 targets after 8 the week before, catching like 90% of them. The touchdowns are going to come. Lat Murray is certainly a leverage play off of Kamara. I actually think you could play them both in some lineups if you really like, you're running a Bridgewater stack with 2 receivers. And then J.D. McKissick is like quietly becoming the lead back in Washington. He's like 3rd amongst running backs in red zone targets in the last few weeks. He's got only 1 less target than Gibson last week. 1 less carry than Gibson last week, and 6 targets, 8 targets a week before that, 8 targets a week before that. Maybe we see a change here, and he becomes the lead back. Dallas is terrible against the run. We just saw what Edmonds and Drake did against them last week. J.D. McKissick, pivot off Gio, pair him with Gio, get different. I actually think this is a pretty solid play with how bad Dallas's defense is. And Washington using check down artist QBs. He's 4,600. DraftKings only.
Let me ask you something, Paul. Do you have any interest in Ronald Jones on DK?
Yeah, I do. He's a $6,200 back. It's a little different, but a great spot.
I think he's going to go sort of overlooked because this game was moved, and I think you could get him at really low owned. And Fournette, I'm not buying Fournette. I just don't. Unless something happens, you know what I'm saying, to Rojo, I'm starting to lose faith in Fournette taking over that backfield now. He just doesn't. I wouldn't be surprised if he was cut just because they just don't seem to play him. I don't know. He was a healthy scratch sort of last week, so I don't mind that play.
How do you go away from Jones if you're the Bucs right now? Yeah. He's been great the last 3 games. I'm with that.
It's hard to imagine, man. When Fournette has played, he's looked good. It's hard to imagine that they would just throw him to the curb. I think there must be an injury they're concerned about, re-aggravating an injury or something. I don't know. I mean, you went out and got him for nothing, so who cares? But it's not like he wasn't playing well when he has played. Regardless, I'm with you on Jones this week. I think it's fine. And I don't think this is going to be all of a sudden the week that Fournette is. Something seems wrong there, though. I do think that something seems off. They don't seem to trust his health. Maybe you guys are right. I would be surprised just because he was playing well. D Millie, by the way, in the chat, wanted me to tell you, Paulie. He says, I'm blacking out soon. Someone pass these words down to Paulie. You're echoing. You're not actually echoing. I think he's just fucking around. But it's just shout out to D Millie. I had to, he's been a member a long time. I had to make sure I deliver his messages. So our boys, we have the OGs on.
I mean, D Millie's probably been drunk since
without a doubt.
Probably 2 o'clock.
Yes, and that's why it's blackout time. I mean, we would get the Snapchat stuff and the Slack chat. I don't even know what time, but it was on. It was on. He made it very clear it was on. It was like he was having a quarantine party with himself. And then that was many hours ago. With that said, let's move over to the wide receivers, if we will. Joe, talk to me about some of these spend-up action guys on FanDuel.
This is where the meat meets the road, or whatever. What's that saying? This is where this is gonna be tough because this is every week. This is the most depth. I'm the top 3 guys. Obviously, Michael Thomas isn't playing, but the top 2 guys, I'm pretty much out on this week. Devontae Adams is going to be on Bradley Roby, and I think it'll just be enough to slow him down at 8,900. There's just better options and better matchups. D-Hop has got a great matchup, but he's questionable with an ankle, and even if he plays, I just don't know how effective he's going to be. At 9K, I think that you can afford one 9K player in your lineup on FanDuel, and I'll take Kamara still. If you got to compare him at that point, Kamara's in a way better spot still. The probably moving it down then to 8K, you got to look at the two guys there, Ridley and Julio. Ridley being the cash play for me, I think, and Julio being more the GPP play. Ridley's just, his matchup this week is amazing. He's facing one of the worst corners in the league. He's guaranteed averages about 10 targets a game. So to me, it's Ridley. If you're going to pay up at that price in cash with Julio as a pivot in GPPs, and no interest in Tyreek Hill, and then we can move down to the mid-range.
Paulie?
Completely agree with Hopkins. Just way too expensive. Zero interest for me. Do like Devontae Adams. I don't give a shit about Reggie Roby. He's matchup proof. If Aaron Jones is hobbled, then where's this offense going to go through? He, should get a ton of targets on turf. With Aaron Rodgers looking to get back on track with his homie Devontae Adams. Do like him. If I'm going to spend up a receiver, it'll be there. Ridley, Julio, mostly just in stacks. DK Metcalf, I'll have exposure to every week, especially against Arizona, who's been getting torched by receivers. But it's more like in the mid-tier. The only other guy above 7 is Stephon Diggs, who, with John Brown being out against the Jets, who are terrible, he seems to be like a very safe play with upside. He's, gotten 6 to, almost 18 targets a game. If he's not scoring a touchdown, he's getting 100 yards. He's basically been a 3X player or better every week except one this year. And I don't see how he doesn't, get his against the Jets with potentially sneaky, massive game potential. So I'll have some digs, but it's mostly just Devontae, DK. It's spending down a receiver for me.
Yeah, man, I'm digging at Adams. I'll take the Adams all day. I'm not afraid of Roby. Not with Adams. Not me. Double-digit targets in every game.
Especially with Jones.
I mean, last week Adams had a bad game, and he still had 10 targets, and he only played 3 quarters. Like the Packers didn't even pack it. They packed it in the 4th quarter. He still had 10 targets. I think the targets make him a phenomenal play. I like Ridley and bringbacks. Metcalf doing dirty season long. Let's go. Mid-tier. Joey. What do you like?
Mid-tier. This is where I like them all. I mean, Paulie, can you believe that our boy DK is 7,300 on FanDuel? He's barely over 7K. After 6 weeks of the season, the receiver that's averaged 100 yards every game and a touchdown is still only 7,300. But Tyler Lockett is more.
Really? On FanDuel?
Tyler Lockett is 7,400.
That's crazy.
Stephon Diggs is 7,500. A guy that I like that's even in just amount of spot, Kenny Golladay is 7,600. And Amari Cooper is 7,800. Where does FanDuel's thing?
I don't know.
Metcalf, core, lock, play. Most reason why I like it is because you need to get a side of this game when you have Kyler. Even if it's a cash setting, I feel like this game's going to go off and ownership's going to be there. So you need to have something from the Seahawks, even in a cash setting. So it's our boy DK at 7,300. Patrick Peterson is not Patrick Peterson anymore. McLaurin has taken him to school. Other receivers all year has taken him to school. Okay? We saw what Metcalf did against Gilmore. All right? Metcalf is matchup proof. He should not be 7,300. He might not get like a ton of targets, but he's going to get you those big plays. He's going to get in the end zone. He's going to make value. Now, the next guy, 7,600, Kenny Golladay. He is in a great matchup against the terrible Atlanta secondary. Whoever covers him is going to get raped, going to get bludgeoned and killed. We don't like it. It's done. All right. So boom, Golladay. He's my second favorite in this range. And then like the guy that's going to go overlooked at 7K, who got 40 targets in 3 games before his back gave out on him in New Orleans, is Keenan Allen at 7K. It's just amazing. His price, I love it. And in a cash setting, if you can't fit in Golladay, or if you want to pay up at tight end somewhere, Keenan is a great consolation. I'm off of Will Fuller this week. He's going to get the Jair Alexander treatment. I am not going on Will Fuller this week. Go down to A.J. Brown or something like that. I'm going to stop at like 6,400. Another mid-tier guy like Robbie Anderson. He's facing a mirage secondary that is not very good. And it's going to be a high-scoring game, I think. And I like that. Games too, if you have Kamara, having just Robbie Anderson in that game is good correlation too. So that's pretty much all the mid-tier guys that I like. I'm kind of off Claypool this week. I feel like Deontay Johnson back's going to muddle everything in that passing game. So I don't feel like in a cash setting you really need it like you needed him last week.
To be clear, when Joe said whoever's guarding Galladay is going to get raped, he didn't mean by him. He means by Galladay. So just to be clear, Joey is not doing the one. He's not the one that's threatening to rape the Atlanta cornerback. That he just is insinuating that through the game, Galladay will do it hypothetically to an Atlanta DB. Now that we have that disclosed for legal purposes, Patio, Paulie, kicking it to you for the mid-tier.
I do like Kenny Golladay as well. It just seems to be a great matchup. Just like you want to get exposure to Arizona, Seattle, feels the same thing in this Detroit-Atlanta game. Kenny Golladay is a great way to do it. Doesn't need the 10 targets to have a big game. Atlanta's terrible against everything. I was really high on Tyreek Hill. The weather thing's starting to annoy me a little bit. I thought this could be a blow-up spot for him. Denver gives up a ton of big plays. They're terrible against the pass. Sammy Watkins is out. He's 6,400. He hasn't been that cheap in a long-ass time, and I just think a monster game from him is coming soon. I'll have some, but with the weather, I'm going to back off a tad. Love Keenan Allen. Really like Odell Beckham this week. I see that game really shooting out back and forth. Joey mentioned Keenan Allen's 40 targets the last 3 games. The next highest receiver with targets is Terry McLaurin with like 34 in the last 3 games, going against this Dallas secondary that's absolutely terrible. Got toasted by Christian Kirk last week and receivers all season long. And this offense has nothing else. McLaurin's got some touchdown progression coming his way. Only has 1 so far this year. Getting basically 10 targets. Going to get the yards. Dallas is terrible. Really like Terry McLaurin. Also like DJ Chark quite a bit. A huge A-dot. 14 targets after shaking off the injury against Detroit. I expect them to be trailing. Not the best of matchups, but volume, skill, believe in the talent. DJ Chark 5,500, and then I like all the Cincinnati receivers, but T. Higgins by far my favorite. Agree with what Joey said on Will Fuller. So Brandon Cooks at 5,200 seems to have solidified his role in this pass game. Expect them to be trailing, and if it's not going to be Willie Fuller, it's going to be Brandon Cooks. So 5,200, that makes for a nice play. And then at 5K, Deebo Samuel. There's this theory that New England is going to focus on Kittle. So Deebo Samuel coming off a 6 and an 8 target game after returning from injury. got a touchdown last week. I think he'll be a guy that Garoppolo kind of puts up times at 5K like that, and also going to give him some carries as well. So give me some Debo. But mid-tier is loaded. I didn't even mention Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. Loaded.
It's loaded. Definitely loaded. That's why in tournaments, man, I take the easy way out. Not always does it work. Sometimes you got to use a running back as one of the stack partners. Sometimes you got to use a tight end. For the most part, a lot of the receivers, I'll kind of let the quarterback situation do it for me. If I got a quarterback, I'm going to usually want a receiver and usually one on the way back, if not the running back. So I'm with you. And that's one of the reasons, bro. This is the position with the most variance. And at the same time, it is fucking loaded with upside. So I do agree. What about Value Town, Joey?
Value Town, if for some reason Hopkins doesn't play, Christian Kirk at 5,400 becomes like Gio Bernard status chalk in this game. He's 5,400 on FanDuel. Even if he didn't make, he only had like 2 catches last week and stuff, he's going to be popular just because of his price. I like what Paulie said about Deebo Samuel. His role is growing in that offense. He went from 35 or 40% the one game to 85% last week. So I like him better than Brandon Ayuk, who's more of a gadget player. The 2 guys I think that are actually there's 4 guys in the Value Town that people are going to gravitate to, I think. One is Mike Williams at 5,900. You saw what he did against the Saints. You saw how just Herbert just likes throwing deep. This seems like a match made in heaven. You might want to get on this before he gets to be his price gets moved up. Deontay Johnson's coming back too this week. He's I think more if I was going to pick one receiver in that offense, that's who I'd pick. T. Higgins is getting a lot of love from Joe Burrow, and he'd be my favorite receiver if I was playing cash. And then I like Michael Gallup out of all of the receivers. I feel like Dalton's going to throw to him more than Cooper or CeeDee Lamb. So those are the guys in the Value Town that I like. But Kirk is the one you got to look for. Mike Williams is probably my favorite though overall.
Holla, Joe, Paulie, what's going on? I'm hearing something. What's happening?
This is his mic. It's not me. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Paulie.
I don't know, dog. What do you hear?
Well, just now it sounded like maybe the mic was rubbing against something. You sitting there playing with some stuff you should be playing with.
Maybe it's rubbing against that.
That's what I'm saying.
Value Town. Nothing stands out as I'm gonna go get 25-30% of, but there's a ton of darts down here that could win you the slate, similar to Claypool and Fulgham 2 weeks ago. There's a lot. Tim Patrick's been wildly impressive. Again, I'm concerned about the weather there, but they should be trailing by a ton. And this guy's got one of the highest ADOTs. He's had 100 yards plus in 2 consecutive games, touchdowns in 2 of the last 3. With the Saints news, I don't know how you don't get a ton of Traquan Smith at 4K. Eman Sand got 12 targets a week ago. And now he's gone, along with Mike Thomas. So if they're going to throw the ball, it's going to be to this guy. He's kind of always been a home run hitting kind of receiver, similar to Christian Kirk, who's firmly in play, regardless of Nuke's status. You got Hardman and Demarcus Robinson with Sammy Watkins out, with how much Casey likes to spread the ball out. With you on Mike Williams. With John Brown out, Gabriel Davis is 3,600 against the Jets. He could be in play. I'm cool with the Michael Gallup call. He did actually outsnap both those 2 receivers and has a way higher ADOT. He's going to be a boom bust kind of guy. But definitely worth getting 5 or 10% of in GPPs. Who else down? There's a bunch of these kind of guys. Marcus Valdez-Scantling, like want to double stack Aaron Rodgers, he'd be my guy. You could play him alone without Devontae for that like upside. He's another big A-dot home run hitting kind of receiver. Henry Ruggs, we saw what he did 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs. Had his kind of breakout game. I expect them to be trailing. Maybe he breaks a couple, and then AJ Green. A few weeks ago, I said he's toast. He's done. I'm done with him. But, comes back, looks good against a tough secondary in the Colts, gets 11 targets, 8 catches, 96 yards. He's going to have like a 6-inch height advantage on the D-back guarding him. He's had 3 games with 9 or more targets. The running back is hurt. I expect this game to be close and back and forth. At 4,300, you got to play some AJ Green. I mean, he could have a 2-touchdown game and break the slate and go for 30. It's that talented. But, just 8 for 96 like last week. If you get 4 more yards in the bonus, 1 touchdown, you're talking about 7x. So, love the whole Cincinnati side, but him at 43 is super attractive.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think there's a bunch of guys. I think that somebody who Joe mentioned earlier, the reason he's not really on Claypool this week, Deontay Johnson on DraftKings is only 4,200. Had double-digit targets in each of his first 2 games, which are the only games that he's actually been healthy in. So I agree. Randall Cobb at revenge spot. There's a bunch of different things to like. And the Traquan Smith, man, that's like, I mean, shit, that's hard to pass up at this point. I know Carolina has been decent against the pass, but they're just a zone team. You got a QB that can beat the zone. They can make it happen, Gavin. So again, just gonna kind of correlate with what game stacks I'm rolling with. Oh man, Paulie, you're killing us with the mic, man.
I got somebody to bring up. What I know you guys brought up Gabriel Davis, but like Jets can't cover anybody in the slot. I know he's like vanilla ice cream, but Cole Beasley with Brown being out, 5,100 on FanDuel. I don't mind it. He's not going to kill you. You know he's going to get something.
Hold up. Paulie, your mic is out of control right now, bro. It's like hard static coming in right now. Boom.
Okay.
Oh, no.
There we go. No, as you were saying.
Yeah, are we good? We start talking again?
I mean, we can start talking. We just don't know if Paulie can talk.
Okay. We just lost Paulie? Okay. Yeah, Cole Beasley, man. I like him as just a very vanilla play that's not going to kill you. If you need to pay up, at the other positions or something like that, I don't mind it either, because I feel like you might have to pay down at one of the wide receiver positions.
I got a trivia question.
Okay.
Who's the number 2 receiver for the Saints?
Well, it was Emmanuel Sanders, right?
He's out.
Correct. Isn't that Callaway?
It's Callaway, yeah. I think he caught like 4 for like 40 last week. Min price. Any interest?
If you're doing a lot of lineups, yes. I would say yes. But if, for me, no. But yeah, I get where you would think. Marvin Jones, I think, is one other name that, like, man, he could go off. This could be the week. And, like, people have been saying it. He usually has 1 week a year, and this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see it happening. So.
Yeah, that's especially all the, like, Stafford and Galladay love and Swift. Like, nobody's going to have him. And he does it once a year.
Mm-hmm.
All day on the tight ends. Patio Joe, back to you. What tight ends you like, bro?
Yeah, tight ends, I'm off of Kittle. I really think that he's going to get the Bill Belichick, let's lock him down, put whoever we can, double team him, make sure that he doesn't beat us. That's why guys like Debo I like in a situation. And then I don't mind Jared Cook now with his uptick in targets that he's going to receive. I think because of everybody being out, you have to play to that situation, and he'll probably get used a lot. Let me ask you guys something right now. This is a little bit of a tangent, and this is more of a seasonal thing. So I heard the news. You know how, guys, I'm always listening to fantasy news and whatever. So I hear the news that Jared Cook, that Sanders is out, and Jared Cook's going to be the starting, is starting tight end. He's going to be used, so whatever. So I also hear the news that Aaron Jones might not be playing, and to pick up Jamal Williams. Now, I'm desperate for running backs on this one team. I lost Chubb. I lost Eckler. I'm trying to do anything I can to win, right? So the guy who needed a tight end just had Austin Hooper, who got sick, so he's out. So I offer my tight end, Hayden Hurst, for Jamal Williams, knowing that this guy doesn't follow football anywhere near as well as I do, and that he would not even check that this guy could be starting Jamal Williams on Sunday because Aaron Jones is out. And so he accepted the trade. So now I got Jamal Williams for Hayden Hurst, and hopefully I win. But now they're all mad because I basically hoodwinked him. But what do you guys think I did anything bad there or not?
Nope.
No?
Except a trade is a trade, in my opinion.
Trade.
I mean, I played on I basically said, you're not going to check. You're not going to do your due diligence. And I know people don't do your due diligence in the league, so I'm going to start taking advantage of it. Fuck them. You know what I mean?
Bro. Hell yeah, man. Like, I'm sick, bro. You don't even I'm the only season-long team I'm in this year is like a family one. And it's fucking annoying because you got all these people who aren't that as into it, and like I can't trade with nobody because then they're gonna immediately assume I'm ripping them off. And like, what do I got to do? I have to like intentionally lose to a trade to not, you know what I mean? Like, it's bullshit, man. Do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Do your due diligence. It's play or get played in these streets of fantasy football, right?
So back though to tight end, like. I think that there's a lot that are just so grouped together that if they get a touchdown, they could really help you and make the slate. Like Trey Burton last week, obviously 2 touchdowns was just crazy, but man, he made it. I don't mind it. Like this week, like DJ Hawkinson and Hunter Henry are both in great situations. Obviously, I'm not going to play tight end and receiver on the same cash team, but if you're stacking this game, I definitely like Hawkinson. Hunter Henry also is in a good spot against Jacksonville. They're not going to be able to cover anybody. Jonnu Smith, I just think he's up. He's starting to get up close to the boys. Like, real quick before I start, Paulie, do you prefer Jonnu Smith or Jared Cook this week?
Cook.
Okay. So, yeah. So, and then the 2 guys in like a little bit lower range, Darren Fells and Dalton Schultz. I can see Dalton to Dalton in the red zone on Sunday a lot. That's almost my favorite play of Dallas this week is Dalton Schultz. And Darren Fells, if Jordan Akins didn't practice this week, did he? I didn't see that anywhere that he practiced. I think he's out. And he's let me see, what does it say? He
did not practice.
Questionable. He's questionable week 7 game. Did not practice all week. Yeah. So we've seen his numbers. When the games that he's been out, he scored a touchdown each game. Last week he had six receptions, 85 yards. I mean, Gronk had a decent game against his Packers defense last week. And if we think that Alexander and whatever is going to be covering Cooks and Fuller, I don't mind Darren Fells. I know it's not. It could burn you, but I don't know. I feel like without Akins there, Watson is gonna look his way. So I like that. Maybe David Njoku now that Hooper is out. I could see that. I'd have to look in to see how healthy he is, though. I know he was hurt early in the year, so that could be a possibility if you're not going to play Hunt. And that's it.
Boom. What about you, Paulie?
If you can, Kittle and Kelsey, just stand out so far above the rest of the tight end field. I don't care about the matchup, the conditions. They just get the volume. They're so talented. Kittle's going to be like 3% owned. Kelsey will have some ownership, but it's hard to really allocate funds to that position with, where you need the money for the rest of the slate. Unfortunately, different builds, they could outscore the rest of the position by a lot. I'm just going to force in at least like 10% of both of them. Darren Waller seems to be a good idea. Tampa Bay's tough. The Raiders should be trailing. They should really be able to stop the run. And where they're going to go, it's going to be Darren Waller. We've seen him go for 15-plus targets and smash multiple times. I like T.J. Hawkinson. Atlanta's terrible against the tight end. We talked about like a Marvin Jones. We talked about Galladay. Hawkinson's the other receiver that, his first game ever, he had a monster 12, catch, 2 touchdown game. We haven't seen that since, but it's in there, and this could be the week that it finally happens. Cool with Jonnu, cool with Hunter Henry. Based on what Joe said, I think I'm going to up my Hayden Hurst exposure. Sounds like he's going to have a breakout game. But Jared Cook at 43 has played like 40% of the snaps out at the slot or even the wide out. That's why I asked, who the number 2 is. It's probably Jared Cook. He could get like 60% of snaps, outside of the tight end this week. And I do actually really agree with what you said about Fells at 41, very cheap. As long as Akins is out, we don't really like Fuller, so there's not many other options in that pass game. I like Schultz for cheap, and I think this is a good spot to grab Eric Ebron. Like Titans, I do respect defensively, but to date on the season, they are 6th worst against the tight end. And, if they are able to kind of slow down some of the other pieces, I wouldn't be shocked if Eric Ebron was able to find the end zone and get his 5 to 8 targets and top some yards. So, like those guys as cheap options as well.
Yeah, man, I'm all about Hawkinson this week. Give me the Hawk. TJ, Hawk style. Atlanta. Terrible against tight ends. Let's giggity. Defenses, and then we still got the giveaway to do. I did not forget, Nation. I got you guys covered. After we do this, we'll do the giveaway drawing. We got the wheel ready. Everything's all good to go. Somebody's going to win $25 if you didn't participate in this drawing. I don't feel bad because we told you about it on the First Look show, and you've had all fucking week to get that shit done. So that's on you guys to follow us on the social media platforms, especially on Twitter at @wise_take. That's on you guys to make sure you check out the First Look show so you don't miss out on the weekly giveaways. Another $25 straight cash, homie, going to one of you who did participate in the contest. With that said, Joe, what defense is you into this week?
I mean, my number 1 defense for cash right now is Washington. It's a pay down option. It's not like I don't love it, but I just feel like they're going to get sacks, that terrible line. They get a couple fumbles. If they give me like 6 or 7 points in a cash game setting, I'm cool with it. I don't have the money to pay up for the Bills. They're 5,000 against the Jets. There's just other places to go. I don't mind the Chargers either. They're fine. And I would not mind the Jets at like 3,000 if you're paying all the way down just for them getting minimal points late in the game or something. If Barkley's in, getting a pick or something, something like that. But there's not very many defenses this week. I'm going to go to pretty much just Washington.
I feel it. Paulie D, what about you?
Yeah, there's not a ton that I really like defensively. I'll probably have like a wide pool of like 10 teams at 10% each. I guess I would say Washington's my favorite at that cheap price tag with the meltdown that's going on in Dallas. Zeke's fumbling. Dalton's getting sacked, throwing picks. Bad O-line. Washington's good at getting to the quarterback, so that makes sense. Needing the money at $2,500. But I don't mind the Packers. I like the 49ers. I like the Chargers. Always like the Steelers. I think you could take a shot at like the Falcons for cheap. I think you could try either one of the Bengals or Browns. Both those quarterbacks can make some mistakes. I guess I would say like Washington, Packers, Chargers are my three favorites right now, but nothing is really standing out, and I plan to just kind of spread out my.
Let me ask you now, what about Tampa defense now that they're on the slate? I feel like, what's their price on DK?
They're 37, one of the higher priced ones. It's fine, but price.
Because, I'm just thinking like the Raiders O-line, have we heard if they're playing or not? Because if they don't have a couple guys playing, maybe some are, some aren't. That's a lot. That's a big advantage that the Bucks might have. Something to think about.
Something to think about, indeed.
So I think that game's going to be completely forgotten about because it's not on the FanDuel slate, and people have already kind of had their thought about the slate as it went when it got moved. So that if you want to get completely contrarian, play that game.
Yeah, true that indeed. True that indeed. With that said, it's giveaway time, nation. That's right. It is giveaway time. If you participated, you were about to get rewarded. About to get rewarded with free money. So we're doing. We got the wheel pulled up here, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who participated, greatly appreciate it. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. We're about to do some dirties right now. And 3, 2, 1, go. It's spinning. It's spinning. I got no control. I just click the button once. That's all I do.
It's spinning.
That's all I do. And we have a winner. Ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Twitter handle at the Warrior Chad. He is this week's winner, man. Shout out to him because he's been playing every week, man. When people are consistently playing every week and they're doing what we ask them to do and trying to help push the Wise Take Nation, help push the message, we like to reward them. So shout out to the Warrior Chad. DM us on Twitter at @wise_take. DM us from this Twitter account and we will hook you up, bro. $25. Use that to get into the Millie Maker. Use the other $5 to get you a little quick handy, if you will. And best of luck. Best of luck. That is the giveaway today.
$5 handy.
Yeah, you never know, bro. I don't know where people are from, but you never know. It depends on how dirty you want to get, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Shit. With that said, we'll talk about our favorite games and then we'll get the F up out of here. So, Patio Joe, favorite game stack?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Seattle, Arizona. It's the premier game of the slate. Everybody's gonna be waiting for it. I think I like Russ more in the GVP setting and Kyler in cash. I think that just Russ will get less ownership because he's a little bit more. So you can pair him with both DK and Lockett. Wouldn't mind throwing in Hopkins or Kirk with that. I'm not really into the run game unless you want to just kind of get off the chalk sort of a little bit and still have a part of that game. And then nothing with the tight ends. I could see David Moore. He seems to catch something, so he's very cheap. So that's another quick way. And then, Kirk would be another option.
Boom. Paulie, game stack.
Cincinnati, Cleveland, probably my favorite for the low ownership and low price tags. And then Carolina Saints. Kamara will be popular, but probably nothing else from New Orleans. And I don't think anybody's really looking at the Carolina side. And I think that game could just as easily shoot out as any other on the slate.
True that. True. For me, really simple. It's Detroit, Atlanta, and Houston, Green Bay. Those are by far my two favorite games. I'm pretty satisfied where the ownership's coming in on those games, considering there are some pretty damn good spots. Juicy. But that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for this edition of the Wise Stream, Week 7. That's right, Week 7, Wise Takes number. Don't forget Patio Joe's Cash Game article, Patio Joe 6-0 in cash games this year's article comes out Saturday. Paulie D and GPP breakdown will be out either Saturday night, Sunday morning, depending on what kind of mood Paulie's independent on shit's rolling, and the way of Paulie D and the path of Paulie D. Mine will probably be out tomorrow night as well. I think most of it's pretty much written. So barring any news, there'll be changes. We'll be in the Slack doing dirties. By the way, D Millie wants you in the Slack, Paulie. He had asked specifically that you meet him in the Slack. So if you want to be part of the Slack chat, go subscribe at whitestick.com. Slack chat comes with for monthly members or higher. We do have week passes available if you want to try us out, get access to our projections. We have cheat sheets, obviously all the articles, and of course, like I said, if you get monthly memberships or higher, you can get into Slack chat. So go check us out. Doing dirties with us, Nation Time, whitestick.com. Anything in closing?
I'll let you
Boom. I like that. Screech style. Patio Joe, anything in closing?
Yeah, I might want to take a little bit closer look at the Tennessee-Houston game. Looking at the Titans.
Tennessee ain't playing Houston, bruh.
I mean, Tennessee, I'm sorry. Tennessee Steelers game, I'm sorry. Tennessee Steelers game. Looking at, like, their games, like, they've been playing, like, 60-point, like, games, like, almost 50 to 60-point games the last 5 out of 6 games, except for the week 1 against the Broncos. So those games tend to shoot out. So maybe we should take a look at that game a little more.
For sure. Paulie, anything in closing?
Nope. Do dirties, drop sevens. I'll let you boy.
Screep mode. For Patio Joe, for Paulie D, myself, the entire White Stick Nation, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. And as always, good luck.
Yeah.